Okay, well, first of all, for the record, who are you?
George Comfort.
And 2 days ago was your birthday. So what year were you born?
1943.
And you turned
81.
81. All right. Here we go. First question. Where were you born? And is that where you were raised?
Boone County Hospital, Columbia, Missouri, and I was raised in Columbia.
Okay. Where were your parents from?
My father was born in St. Louis in 1899, and my mother was born in Jacksonville, Illinois in 1909.
What were your parents like?
My father was a professor of animal husbandry, and he, as I recall, didn't talk a lot at home. He brought some work home at night, which he would work on. I remember he taught me how to drive.
Mm-hmm.
My mother was very kind and generous and loving. I think a very generous thing she did was pay for me to take a trip to Europe. It was 2 weeks long. That was in 1964 when I was 21.
Mm-hmm. How did you get your name?
I think they knew a man named George. I don't know if he was in the animal husbandry department or not, but I guess they liked that name.
Mm-hmm.
Then David, I think they just chose because they liked it.
Mm-hmm. It goes nicely with George. Okay, so you were just mentioning this, but how did your parents meet?
Well, at the University of Missouri, my father, I think, well, he was 10 years older than my mother's, and I think he had finished his master's degree, and she was finishing university.
Mm-hmm. But they never talked about
I don't
their
remember
first date, or they didn't.
I don't.
Those were not things that they
no
chatted about or anything. Yeah.
He was in Alpha Gamma Rho fraternity, but he would have been 10 years, well,
Mm-hmm.
several years graduated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then she was in Zeta Tau Alpha sorority, so there could have been some party or something, but I don't recall them saying.
So she came to the university, though, from her childhood home in Illinois?
No.
Oh, okay.
Her father had several different jobs. I think he had a law degree, but he never practiced as a lawyer. He worked for a company that kind of scouted or explored for oil.
Huh.
And they were in a town of DeRidder, Louisiana, when she was in junior high or something, and then in Chillicothe, Missouri, when she was in high school. So I think went from high school in Chillicothe to Christian College, which
that's right.
is now Columbia College.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jane Froman, who was a well-known singer at that time, was one of her classmates at Christian.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've kind of talked about this already, but what did your parents do for work? I know, but go ahead and explain.
My father was an associate professor of animal husbandry and taught animal husbandry and beef cattle production he was responsible for the beef cattle herds that the University of Missouri had in various places.
Did you, I'll ask a little question about that. Did you often go and hang out with the cows? Like, did you help with that? No.
Not often, but
Yeah.
I remember when one of the phases of learning to drive, I was out in a pasture with the car.
Trying to avoid hitting a
Yes.
cow.
Well,
Right.
other things.
And then back on track, what did your mother do for work?
Yes. Well, right after she graduated, she had a job in elementary teaching in, I think it was a little suburb called Bel Air in St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got married after a couple of years, and I think it was the custom it was during the Depression, and they expected teachers that got married to relinquish their job, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they put off having children a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Charles, my oldest brother, was born in 1937, but I think they were married in 1931.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, then as her children were getting into school, I think she started working again, but this time as a librarian. And she first worked at the communications library at Stevens College in the 50s, as I recall.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the 60s, I guess, was working at the State Historical Society of Missouri, which was at that time located in the University of Missouri Library, Ellis Library.
All right, next question. What are some of your earliest memories?
I kind of vaguely remember kindergarten.
Yeah.
And going to church at the First Christian Church in Columbia. We went regularly every Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Here's sort of maybe a question about your early childhood, but what were your siblings like? What were your brothers like when they were young?
I think I'll say I don't recall.
Yeah.
My brother Richard, I think first he had a paper route delivered by bicycle, but later he worked for the Columbia Daily Tribune with a machine that stamped addresses for newspapers that were mailed.
Mm-hmm. And let me ask you for the record here, remind us. So Charles was born in 1937, and then when was Richard born?
1940.
Okay, so you all were 3 years apart.
That's right.
You were born in 1943. Okay, so did you feel like that, kind of, that neither of your brothers were your sort of playmates necessarily? You were all kind of spread apart?
I think I probably did some play with my brother Richard. I remember we cowboys and Indians and soldiers and things.
Mm-hmm. Did you have members of your extended family that you were close to? Aunts and uncles and cousins?
I had relatives in St. Louis, and then my grandmother and aunt lived in Oklahoma City, and we didn't see them very often.
Here's maybe an easier one. Where did you go to elementary school?
Robert E. Lee Elementary School. It was about 6 or 7 blocks from my house, so I walked.
You walked,
there.
yeah.
Sometimes I'd run home for lunch and run back.
Really? And nobody stopped you?
I'd run pretty
Fast.
consistently.
That's funny. Do you have any other? You said you remembered kindergarten a little bit, but do you have any other memorable moments from elementary school? Performances or teachers that you liked or didn't like?
Let's see. That, for some reason, the only elementary teacher, well, our principal was, oh gosh, I can't remember his name now. I remember him.
What stuck out about him? Was he stern or kind or?
Kind.
Mm-hmm,
So,
mm-hmm.
you know, and I remember an elementary teacher whose last name was Koch, which was pronounced Coke.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I think that was third grade.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's pretty good.
can't remember.
That's okay. What kind of movies or music or books did you like when you were a kid? Maybe things that were popular or?
Well, on Saturday they would have like Roy Rogers and Gene Autry and Lash LaRue, westerns at the Boone Theater, I believe.
Mm-hmm. How much do you think you paid for a ticket?
Oh, I'm sure it's less than 25 cents.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Um,
Would you go with your whole family or just
no.
with a friend or something?
No.
Or, yeah.
You recall sometimes they would have things where if you collect the wrappers from Wonder Bread or some kind of bread, or I don't know whether you got a prize or you got in or something. Then later in the 50s, 60s, you started to have movie musicals like Sound of Music.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see. Did you ever get seriously injured or sick when you were a kid?
Well, I had appendicitis when I was 14.
Yeah.
I was down at the Lake of the Ozarks at a Boy Scout camp. I worked on the waterfront. They took me to a doctor in Lake Ozark or something and confirmed that I had appendicitis, so they put me in a station wagon, lying down, and drove me up to Columbia. So, and my appendix removed.
Yeah. At 14. Wow.
Right.
All right. I think that counts for this question. Did you ever have any broken bones or anything?
No.
Yeah. All right. I know the answer to this, but for the record, where did you attend high school?
Hickman High School in Columbia, Missouri.
Did you have any influential teachers or coaches, like in high school? Remember?
Well, I was very into sports. Three sports a year. We'd have one day off between seasons sometimes.
Which were your, for the record, what were your 3 sports? Fall season was?
Yes. Now, in junior high,
okay.
I don't think football started until our freshman year.
Yeah.
And perhaps track also. And I threw the shot put and discus. But basketball, I think, started in 7th grade. So.
What were your favorite subjects in high school?
Well, I think just, biology was formative, maybe. I think kind of made a decision I'd like to do more in this area. And of course, there was chemistry and physics. And then I kind of enjoyed English.
Things that had to do with literature and things like that. Yeah. Here's a question.
Well,
Go ahead.
I mentioned that I started band, I think, in the 7th grade, and I played clarinet all through high school. Then in high school, I got into vocal music, so I think all 3 years, I might have just been junior, senior, but I had both vocal music and band.
Was that complicated for your schedule? Did you have to get exceptions or something to do that?
I don't
Yeah.
remember, but
Yeah.
I think it may have been a little difficult.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever do a musical?
Because the musicals were usually done in November, it interfered with football. But I did sort of a minor role in Little Abner. I was a scientist that creating
Potion or something, wasn't it?
a new breed of men.
Oh, that's right. Okay, what was in style when you were in high school? Do you remember what you wore?
Usually khaki pants, cotton. That at one time there was a style of having a little belt with a buckle below the normal belt line, the top of the buttocks.
You sort of slung it low, kind of, or it was.
No, it was just a little add-on.
Oh,
It was peculiar. And then the boys would sometimes wear shoes with thick leather soles that were kind of a orange tan, and then a dark brown sole edge.
Did you have those shoes?
Yes.
Yeah. When you wanted something because of a style, was it easy to ask your mom and dad to buy those things?
I think that there had to be some moderation of things. And
you had to find them on sale.
We shopped for clothing a lot at Penny's. I think there was a little bit of some wealthier kids that like drove sports cars and things, and I rode my bicycle to school all through high school and even college and medical school. So it was a little looking up to the today I think they might say that some of the guys' style was preppy.
Okay. In high school, were you given any special awards for your studies or school activities?
Well, I think honor was to be elected the president of the student council, which is sort of like the president of the student body. I would introduce speakers or shows, acts at our weekly assembly, wore a suit and tie. Then at the end of my senior year, there's an award for the outstanding athlete, and I won that. I knew there was another athlete that, as far as basketball and he was a good baseball pitcher, that was a little more outstanding than I, but I guess, I did 3 sports, and they considered citizenship and things. I don't know.
You were just an all-around good guy.
And then they give a service award to one student, and maybe a male and a female, perhaps, but I was given that award. But no particular academic awards. I think I had a 3.0 kind of grade average. So.
What was there anything particularly like that now was kind of difficult for you as a student, like reading quickly or writing papers or anything that made school a little difficult for you?
Well, I suppose I'd put things off.
Oh.
I remember doing homework during band when he was was working with another section or something, I'd get out my book.
Yep. That sounds familiar.
Yeah. Then in college, I had difficulty with second semester German and organic chemistry. They were both like foreign languages.
Yeah.
In retrospect, I think I should have had a tutor for organic chemistry.
Mm-hmm. Was there any particular reason you didn't? I mean, did you not have access to tutors, or did you just decide not? You know, just try to power through.
Well, yeah. It was my last semester. It was after I'd already been accepted in a medical school.
Yeah, there you
I'm not
go.
sure what would happen. But the athletic department did provide tutors for some freshman and sophomore classes that nearly everybody took. And then, I guess when I was a senior, they had me tutor a younger classman in geography, I remember.
I know this is back to teenage years here, but what rebellious things did you do? Anything?
I tend to say nothing.
Nothing.
But I remember my teammates, some of them got into trouble for raiding a watermelon patch.
Oh, that's pretty wholesome, if you ask me.
But I think
but
they had to pay fine.
yeah. Did you date as a teenager?
Yes, and I think some people are amazed at how early we started. Well, we'd have school dances, and I would take someone to school dances as early as 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade. And then, by 9th grade, kids were pairing up as couples, sort of.
Did you call it going steady? That seems like a thing from the movies, but I don't know.
Yeah. So, like 9th grade. I would have, 1, 2, or 3 dates in the 7th or 8th grade. But then I sort of dated a girl in the 9th grade, but then we broke up. And then sophomore and junior years, I just had back to 2 or 3 dates or something.
All right.
I suppose maybe there are opportunities for kids these days, but there would be each year. It's called Sadie Hawkins Day, and the girls would ask the boys, and it seems like the boys would wear flannel shirts and blue jeans. So I had dates with girls that I didn't
That
know
invited
very
you.
well.
Yeah. Did you feel like you had to say yes to the first person who asked you?
I think so.
Yeah.
And then sometimes there girls groups would have a dance or something, and I'd get asked. And I was 6 feet tall, and there were some girls, a couple of girls at least, that were close to 6 feet tall. So I might have been asked partly
because you were tall. What advice would you give a teenager now? Teenagers these days.
Well, don't get too caught up in social media and spend too many hours. And don't take it to bed, and don't take it to school. I would hope they would have some opportunity and interest in religion, church. I've gone to church just about every Sunday since I was in kindergarten.
And you don't have to go too far into this, but how would you say that, like, what does that bring to your life? Why is that important to you?
I think a purpose for living, and hope,
Mm-hmm.
And it improves your relationships with others if you care about them.
Mm-hmm. Well, back to a couple more questions about your childhood. Did your family have any holiday traditions that you remember or enjoyed?
Well, we celebrated Christmas with Christmas tree and presents.
Mm-hmm. Any particular foods or things that stick out?
My dad, one of the things he taught was he was a coach for the meat judging team,
Mm-hmm.
and he judged hams at county and state fairs, I think. And he would go to the grocery store and buy the meat.
Mm-hmm.
He'd talk to the butcher.
Mm-hmm.
So every Sunday lunch was fried chicken or roast beef or something, very nice meal.
And he might have been kind of particular about.
He'd carve the meat.
Yeah, yeah. Did you have any pets as a kid?
Seems like we always had a dog.
Mm-hmm.
We went through 3 of them or
Mm-hmm.
something.
Do you remember their names?
Well, there was one that had, I think, 4 white feet or something, or had named Boots.
Oh, it sounds good.
And then there was a beagle named Dusty.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the 2 I remember.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let's see. Who do you feel like you spent the most time with when you were a kid? Whether that was a friend or mom?
Well, in junior high and high school, I had friends who were athletes, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Spent time together.
And sort of, were there other friends that were also like those same 3 sport, you sort of did everything with them? Yeah. Who were some of those people? Do you remember?
Yeah. Well, one that I went to grade school with, and then junior high and high school, and we were on sports teams, was Lyman Baker.
Mm-hmm.
Then, I guess it's more junior high and high school. A couple of other athletes were Bob Hewlett and Steve Simon, and they were all popular kids.
Mm-hmm. Did you feel popular?
Well, I was elected president of things, but I didn't sense that I was in the most popular group.
Mm-hmm. I know this is not time for my commentary, but I would say that there's a lineage in this family of feeling exactly like that. Not feeling like you're the most popular, but having a lot of friends and being active in lots of things. That's great. Okay. Well, I think that is it for your... Well, let me ask you this one. Let me just see if you have an answer, because you might not. But do you have any memory of a time that you got in trouble with your parents? You were just such a good kid.
No, but I can remember, I think, having to go to the principal in grade school maybe once, and junior high once.
Do you remember for what behavior?
Well, I think there was a situation where some other kid got our class in trouble, and we had to stay late, and everybody was mad at this kid, and I think maybe I got into a little scuffle with him, and, sort of representing the class.
Yes. Wow. So it's sort of an honor, but
no.
but maybe not the best
Just
choice. Yeah.
And then I think in junior high, for some odd reason, when I don't remember if the teacher was addressing it all to me or not, but for some reason I made a sort of a growl, and she was the principal's wife, but she sent me to the principal. Nothing much came of it.
Yes. A reminder that that's not appropriate. All right. Very good. I think I will end